During the Reconstruction era in the United States, roughly around 1865 to 1877, there were significant political, social, and economic changes, particularly in the southern states that had seceded from the Union during the Civil War. The period saw the attempts to reintegrate the southern states back into the Union and establish a new political order. The Reconstruction Amendment, including the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, abolished slavery, granted citizenship and equal protection under the law to all citizens, regardless of race, and prohibited racial discrimination and voting rights, respectively. Additionally, the federal government implemented military reconstruction, which involved occupying the South and enforcing these new laws. The end of slavery meant that millions of African Americans were suddenly free, but they faced immense social and economic challenges. Many former slaves became sharecroppers or tenant farmers, facing property facing poverty and exploitation. Socially, they were efforts there were efforts to establish rights for African Americans, including education and political participation, but these were often met with resistance from the white supremacist group like the Ku Klux Klan, leading to widespread violence and intimidations. The Reconstruction era saw significant economic changes in the South. The plantation system, which had been dependent on slave labor, collapsed, leading to changes in agriculture practices. There were also some industrialization and investment in infrastructure, particularly in the cities like Atlanta and New Orleans. However, economic opportunities for African Americans remained limited, and many continued to work in low wage, exploitive conditions. The Reconstruction era was a time of hope and progress for many African Americans as they gained freedom and citizenship rights. However, these gains were often short lived as Southern states implemented Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation and disfranchised African American voters. African Americans faced widespread discrimination and violence, and many continued to live in poverty. The long term consequences The end of Reconstruction marks the beginning of the Jim Crow era, a period of racial segregation and discrimination that would last until the civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. The failure of Reconstruction to fully address the social and economical inequalities faced by African Americans had long term consequences for the United States, including persistent racial disparities in areas such as education, housing, and employment. Overall, the Reconstruction era was a time of great promise and opportunity for African Americans, but it also brought significant challenges and ultimately fell short of fully realizing the vision of equality and justice for all Americans.